Graduating is exciting, but figuring out what comes next, that can feel overwhelming. Whether you're still in college, getting ready to graduate, or recently finished your degree and trying to land that first real role, you're not alone. Maybe your resume isn't where you want it to be. LinkedIn feels a little confusing, and everyone keeps asking, what's your plan? That's exactly why this podcast exists. Welcome to SharpHR Real Talk, Careers After College. I'm Karen Sharp-Price, founder of SharpHR Career Coaching. Real questions, real strategies. Let's figure this out together. Welcome to another episode of SharpHR Real Talk, Careers After College. Today, we're diving into a question many HR professionals and students struggle with. Should you pursue a master's degree, HR certificates, or both? Our guest, Aubrey McGuire, recently completed her master's degree in human resource management at Stony Brook University and holds an HR certificate from the Society for Human Resource Management and the HR Certification Institute. We're going to talk honestly about the decision-making process, the investment involved, career impact, and what she learned along the way. If you're a student, recent grad, or HR professional trying to figure out your next step, this conversation will give you a real-world perspective on balancing education, certificates, experience, and career growth. So let's jump in. Thank you so much for being on, Aubrey. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share my journey on my master's degree and the certifications, and hopefully I can provide some helpful information.
Yeah, it's been a while since I went through the HR certifications, and I know that I started out with the PHR, and then SHRM came up with one, and so then I automatically got grandfathered into that. But I know that over time, generally around 3 years, when you have to re-up, there was a lot of talk during that period of time. Which one do I stay with, go with? How are they different? All those types of things. So today's conversation will be really helpful because HR professionals have choices now. And many of us have been confused over the years on, which one is better, is there a better one, all those kinds of things. But then you throw in the master's degree and it even adds more to it. So let's start at the beginning. So take us back when you were deciding between a master's degree and HR certification. What did that decision look like for you?
Yeah, so after graduating from SUNY Empire State University, I had my bachelor's degree in business management and economics with a concentration in human resources. I initially did not plan on pursuing the extras at first. However, I did take some time to really evaluate what my long-term career goals and trajectory would be. So I realized they did align closely with the continued education and the professional development. So at that point, I had decided whether I wanted to take the slower, more traditional route of pursuing a master's degree or the faster track of preparing to sit for the SHRM or the PHR certification. So I really just had to identify what was my goal. What did I want out of my career? Was I content with being like an HR assistant, an HR generalist, or did I want to potentially become a manager, maybe even a VP someday? So really looking into what I wanted out of my career is a great starting place.
So how many years into your career were you thinking about this?
Yeah, so I want to say I was about 2 years into physically working in HR.
Okay.
Um, and I did work and get my bachelor's degree at the same time. So I was gaining the education and the experience, you know, together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was about 2 years into my career, so it's still pretty early.
So you ended up pursuing both the master's and the HR certificates. What made you decide to go for both? And was there a certain order that you did do them in?
Yeah, so just to kind of take a step back here from what you mentioned. So with the SHRM exam, I believe, and don't 100% quote me on this, but I believe for SHRM and PHR, they do recommend that you have a bachelor's degree and about 3 to 5 years experience before sitting for the certification exam.
Okay.
So it was a matter of, do I want to chill after getting my bachelor's degree, just get my experience in human resources, or do I want to kind of fill that gap time with the master's degree? So, leading into your question, I do always joke that I had to earn my master's degree in order to pass my SHRM and my PHR exams. But in all honesty, I do think pursuing the degree allowed me to accomplish the two goals at once. So, earning the education while also building the knowledge foundation needed for the certifications.
Mm.
And in my experience, because I've already spent so much time learning the material through the coursework,
Hmm.
I didn't feel the need to heavily invest in additional SHRM learning system or prep programs. By the time I sat for my exams, it felt more like the certifications were the cherry on top of the master's degree rather than a completely separate challenge. So I think just the way that my career and my experience and my degree, how that lined up, it made more sense for me to just go right into the master's program, just because when you graduate your back with your bachelor's, you are thinking, what's the next step? Do I want to just get experience? Do I want to pursue my education? Is there specific certifications that the industry is looking for? And just evaluating where you see yourself in the short term
Hmm.
and also keeping that long-term goal in mind, I think is really important.
Yeah.
I like to have the master's degree and the certifications, but at the end of the day, the master's degree made more sense for where I was at in my career.
Oh, okay. And so do you think that prepping for the certificates, having the master's really enhanced that, or was the work experience that you were doing at the time, or maybe it was all encompassing?
Yeah, it was definitely all encompassing. So the master's degree gives you that more, in my experience, it gave me that more in-depth education on how to answer the questions on the exam. So the SHRM exam and the PHR exam is a little bit different. So absolutely do your research and see what one is going to fit your strengths the
Mhm.
best. So SHRM, from my understanding and my experience, is a little bit more situational based and experience based, and the PHR exam is a little bit more definition based.
Mm.
So, with that being said, I was able to really decide, like with the master's degree, I was able to look at that and use that context and apply that to my PHR exam. And then with my master's degree and my experience, I was able to apply that to the SHRM exam.
Okay. So was there a thought, or did you just feel as though you needed both?
I'm an overachiever. So I do have overachiever syndrome. So I really wanted both. I just wanted to have that in my tool belt. So for me, I knew that I really wanted both at some point, but I actually tackled my PHR exam first before my SHRM exam.
Okay, because those are, I mean, I know for the PHR, that was a pretty intense exam. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming that the other one was too. So you really have to want both to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they both are really intense, but in my experience, I think they're intense in different ways.
Hmm.
So that's why the PHR exam, I was able to take it towards the end of my master's degree.
Uh-huh.
So I think I was in like my last like maybe 2 weeks of the program
Oh,
when I
wow.
sat for the PHR exam. So I really used my course material for the master's degree to help me study for the PHR exam.
Wow. As you were getting ready for your finals and things like
Yes.
that.
Yes. Like I said, overachiever syndrome.
Yeah, I guess so. So let's just talk about the investment side too. How should someone think about the cost and the time? Because you can't just, and I think you would agree, you can't just go and sit for the exam. There's a
Right.
lot of time for prep and all that. So,
Yeah.
how should someone think about the cost, the time, And then the return when deciding between these two options or take your road and do both.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest factor when deciding between the certifications and the master's degree was the investment. So both financially and in terms of time, like you said. So certifications were definitely the smaller investment. Depending on when you sign up, there could be promotions. And I really had to think about my learning style and what would set me best up for success long term.
Mhm.
So I know my learning style is best in a structured environment with deadlines and accountability. So a good example is labor unions. That is not a topic I naturally gravitate towards, but because I was required in my master's program, I had to fully engage with it and really learn it and deep dive into it. So if I were self-studying for something like the SHRM or the PHR exam, I honestly don't know if I would have dedicated the same level of focus to the topic outside of my interest because we naturally gravitate towards the things that are our strengths in human
Yeah.
resources. So um, having that master's degree was an accountability thing, right?
Yeah.
So when researching the programs, I also realized how important it was to understand the course structure and how it would fit into my life. Because at that point, I was planning a wedding, I was engaged. I
Oh my
also,
goodness.
you gotta, thank you. You gotta like really look at what your life is like. I was working full time, I had a house and, keep upkeep of life, so I had to find a program that was really going to fit into my life. So I had to also plan my life strategically, taking fewer classes during longer semesters and loading up on classes during the shorter, like winter and summer sessions, so I could move through the program efficiently.
Wow.
So on the classes that are your typical like fall term or your spring term, since those are around 12 to 15 weeks, I would take about maybe two classes during that because that was manageable for that long term. But then
Mhm.
when I had those smaller winter courses, which sometimes the winter courses were around 3 to 4 weeks, I would take maybe three classes just to get them done, work through it, and earn the credit for that class. So that's what works best for me.
Okay.
Um, but obviously, the opposite could totally be applicable for somebody who, their
Yeah.
life and what that looks like for them. So my biggest advice is to really understand your learning style and do your research. So every university is going to be different. Some
Mm.
programs require 10 to 12 classes, while mine only required eight, which made a huge difference in both time and cost. So I
Yeah.
was looking at programs that were $18,000 of the investment total, or I could go to another university that offered very similar, master's degree in HR, but now that was 24,000 because they had additional classes.
Uh,
So take a look at that course load and see what that is going to look like in time of both time and cost. Now,
yeah.
for some people, maybe if you don't have that experience in HR, it would be more beneficial for you to take those extra 10 to 12 classes to
Mm-hmm.
round you out a little bit better if that's, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But then when looking at the ROI, so the return on investment, um, this is where my analytical brain starts to go. So I hope I explain this properly. But let's say, so my master's degree was $18,000 in total, but you land a new promotion or a new job opportunity at a higher pay grade because of your education, then you'll eventually get the ROI that comes with it. So the same thing goes with the SHRM or the PHR exam. But if you are at a pay grade of, let's say, 60,000 because you have your bachelor's degree, but then you're researching jobs and you want to maybe be an HR manager with your master's degree and you see that that's paying 85. Well, look at that ROI and see, does this make sense for me?
Yeah.
So also definitely sit down with your employer and ask if you make this investment, will it bump you up in compensation and promotion
Mm-hmm.
and in structure and get that clarity and that transparency, like what could my potential ROI look like? So
Sure.
have that conversation when you're thinking about what your investments are.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the master's degree, I recommend researching and applying for scholarships also specific to your program because a lot of universities will offer that on their website. They may not advertise it, but sometimes you just have to go and look for it yourself. Also exploring employer tuition assistance or reimbursement programs to help offset any costs is super important. For the certifications like SHRM and the PHR, timing of your purchase can make a huge difference in savings. So just a little pro tip. So SHRM offers a 20% discount on exam fees throughout the year, and HRCI frequently runs promotions like free second chance insurance, which is very beneficial. Definitely if you are a first time you're sitting for the exam, getting that free second chance insurance during their promotion is a game changer. It just takes a lot of that pressure off knowing that you have that backup option just in case. So taking advantage of the opportunities can significantly reduce your overall investment while maximizing your long-term ROI. And while I may not have taken like the like I didn't purchase the SHRM platform to sit for the exam, but doing your research on that, I know a lot of universities will also offer like 3 months long SHRM prep courses. Your local HR chapter, like I know the Buffalo Niagara Human Resources Association is offering a few month long program to help prep for SHRM exams. So it's just really a matter of, do I want to play in the long game, or am I confident enough to sit for the exam and see where
Right.
that's going to take me?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different levels there. So your company, tuition reimbursement, scholarships, excuse me, how it impacts your actual role that you're in. Um,
Yeah.
the length of time, did you find that some programs were like 1 year versus a year and a half versus two, or were they pretty much standard?
Yeah, yeah. So just to clarify, I did my program completely online.
Okay.
So it was 100% remote, and that will make a huge impact on your investment in time. So if you have to attend a program where you got to sit in classes and attend, that's going to look way different for the way that you manage your time. At Stony Brook, you are allowed to load up on classes, or you're allowed to take just one at a time. So
Oh,
you can customize how long you want it to take you. So it can take you up to 4 years to complete the program. I liked the fast track. Like I said, I had a lot going on in my life, so I just kind of wanted to, get this degree under my belt, get a lot of the content out of it so I could apply it into my work sooner rather than later.
yeah.
And that took me a year to complete. So I took advantage of the winter classes and
Okay.
the summer classes. So if that's something that is important to you, absolutely look to see if they offer summer and fall class, or sorry, summer and winter classes, and that
Yeah.
will look very different in the time to complete the program.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of flexibility in all of this to really
Hmm.
customize it for you individually. I mean, I can't believe you were planning a wedding, you were getting your master's, you were prepping for the HR certificates. Wow. I mean, that is a lot. That is a real lot.
Yeah.
So, if the audience is thinking about it,
Uh-huh.
what's nice about it is, yes, you can do it in a year, you can take your time and do it in four.
Absolutely.
You can, you can do it faster and pay less probably, or
Yep.
spread it out. And if you don't have a strong HR background, sometimes people don't realize that they want to be in HR until after the fact. But
Mhm.
going back for
Yeah.
your master's, then you would really dive in and take a lot more. So that's what's nice about it, is that there's so many different pathways that you can take. So now you have them. Now you have your master's. Now you have the two certificates. So
Hmm.
did you feel an impact with your confidence, um, with maybe feeling comfortable or more comfortable to get out and start your network? And then even bigger, so did you notice more opportunities available to you on your way?
Absolutely. So, earning my master's degree was a huge boost in confidence for me. So for those who maybe they just went to school for general business, they weren't really sure if they wanted to specialize in something, the master's degree, or even if you're thinking about going back for your master's degree, I 1000% do recommend it. If I am a little bit biased, I do think the master's degree gave me the most amount of confidence
Uh-huh.
with my career. So it forces you to go into a deep dive into each topic. So
Mm.
there's a specific class for each topic in your master's program, like
Mm.
labor unions as an example. Whereas labor unions, when I was getting my bachelor's degree, that was a chapter in my coursework. So I was able to really get a good deep dive into specific HR topics. And once you have that knowledge, like knowledge is 100% power. So I felt way more confidence when I was speaking about topics. And just a super quick story, I was working at a local nonprofit for about 9 months. And then unfortunately, they did have budgeting cutbacks and my position was eliminated. And I was just 1 month shy of earning my master's degree, and I just earned my PHR certification. So, like the week I was let go, I had just earned my PHR the weekend prior. So I guess it was decent timing. um, so I decided to take a month off, and like we said, I'm finishing my capstone project while I started interviewing again. So during that time, I noticed a real shift in how I showed up in the interviews. So I spoke way more confidently. I answered the situational based questions in direct alignment with what I had been studying and applying in real life with my experience.
Hmm.
And there was a very humbled but proud confidence in how I carried myself compared to earlier interviews where I felt maybe a little bit more nervous and unsure, even calling my mom beforehand for reassurance. And she just reminded me that you're educated, you're certified, you're experienced, and that shifts your mindset 100% completely.
Okay.
So at that time, I was interviewing with the president of the company that I currently work at, and he asked me on a scale of 1 to 10, how lucky do you think you are? And at that time, I was like, I'm studying, I am completing my capstone project. And I just responded with luck. There's no luck. Like I worked to be here. It was an investment. It was education, it's time, and it's experience that got me here. There's no luck. And um I did get the job, and that's where I'm currently at right now, and I'm so happy to be here. But it just really, you notice how when you have that deep knowledge in the practices in an area that you're very passionate about, it doesn't even have to be HR, in an area that you're passionate about, when you know exactly how to answer things, it just gives you a different type of confidence. You sit a little bit straighter.
Yeah.
So it was 100% a game changer for me.
Okay. And are you active within any associations with in networking for HR? How does that part work?
Yeah, yeah. So I am the foundations director for the Buffalo Niagara Human Resources Association.
Okay.
That is a very relatively new position. I started in early April, I want to say. So that is super new, and I'm still building out that position and seeing how it fits within the BNHRA and how I contribute there. So yeah,
Wow. Okay. So you're really diving into the profession, into the field in all different ways.
yeah.
Um, so for someone who might be listening, who's early in their career, who feels, that feeling of being overwhelmed by making the decision or making the right decision or misstepping and worrying that
Yeah.
they might do that. What are the most important questions do you think that they should be asking themselves in order to come to the right conclusion for them?
Yeah, yeah. So I totally understand the feeling of being overwhelmed. And in full transparency, I did sit for the SHRM exam one time prior and I failed it.
Hmm.
And I jumped in too quickly, I believe, in hindsight, I jumped in way too quickly and I didn't really take the time to sit and ask myself, where do I want to be? And what type of timeline am I looking at here? So when when you're early in your career, think about take time to think about it though. Don't think that you have to make your decision right now. So take some time and ask yourself, what do I like about my profession? Do I want to be in, the HR field? Do I like specializing in a certain area? Do I want to be an HR generalist? Do I eventually want to be a manager? Do I want to be a leader? What is my career path looking like for me right now?
Mhm.
And it's okay to make changes along the way, but I knew early on that when I specialized in just one area of HR, that didn't suit me that well. I like having the variety of HR responsibilities. So I knew that the SHRM and the PHR exam would be really good for me.
Mhm.
Just because you have to have knowledge in lots of different areas and aspects in HR. So um, ask yourself where you see yourself in your early career, your mid career, and then the advanced stages of career, and be intentional about where you want to focus your energy. Um, and to help guide my path, I looked at my dream jobs. So when I started off as an HR assistant, I went on Indeed and I looked up what HR generalist positions, what the postings requirements were. And I had to get an understanding what is the experience, what is the requirement. And I would see the HR generalist would be 3 to 5 years, a bachelor's degree, master's degree for like senior HR generalist. So I knew that in order to get to that point, I would have to continue my education or I would have to get my certification.
Mhm.
I also reviewed LinkedIn profiles of people that were HR generalists and HR managers to see how they got to that point. I asked them, what got you to your career right now? If there were networking events, I would ask them as well and just get an understanding of what their learning path looked like. And I would just ask people directly, what is the advice that you would give for somebody who's early in their career? So that really helped give me clarity and helped me better understand how to intentionally direct my own career development.
Mhm.
But I think you gotta set things one at a time because it can be very overwhelming when you're early in your career and you're looking at people who, even like myself, who have their master's degree and they're certified in this and that. And so it's okay to be early on in your career and take some time to navigate that and take those pivots and see where you really belong in order to make the best decision for yourself. And just to tack on to that real quick,
Yep.
there are other certifications out there. So if you find that you really like talent acquisitions,
Mhm.
there's certifications that directly relate to talent acquisitions. You don't have to always be SHRM or PHR certified for that. So take a look at what your specialty is. If you feel like you have one, then go and look into those. Or even like yourself, like somebody who's a career coach,
Mhm.
you enjoy helping people navigate things. So
Yeah.
look and find what those other certifications are that are going to fit your needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And by talking to people who have already kind of gone down those roads, and getting their perspective on things, I think that's really important because you don't have to recreate the wheel if you don't need to. And
Correct.
learning from other people who have done it and what they've learned from their experiences can save you a lot of time, and effort.
Absolutely.
And I think it's also important to look at those job postings down the road. Like what is it that you want to do? Okay, now let's look at those job postings and what are they looking for? What are they asking for? Are they looking for
Yeah.
certificates? I think a majority of postings now for HR are looking for one or the other, in certificates. But and it depends on if you want to, get into management level, then that master's is going to be really important. I sometimes, like, I'll talk to students and say, if they're not sure while they're in school and they're about to graduate, kind of see where you fall and what kind of companies you get into, and they may have
Yeah.
programs to help you also pay for that. So there's just, I don't think there's any one perfect way, but for each individual, they really need to think about all of these different aspects of it.
Yeah.
So we come to, this has been really quick, but we come to the last question of the day, and that is, if you were advising someone today, would you still recommend pursuing both, or would you guide them differently depending on their situation?
Yeah, so I 100% advocate for both, but I do think it depends on where you are at in your career. So I think earning your master's degree is more than just something you frame on the wall. It is direct education, it's confidence, it's a real sense of accomplishment. But make the best decision for you. But there are so many programs out there that can accommodate whatever stage you are at in life. And master's degree is really that direct education. It is the learning the program and mastering the classes, and then you complete your capstone project, and then you get your master's degree. So it's really that slow and steady pace. And
Yeah.
then with the SHRM and the PHR exam, those are exams that you take when you've already had that knowledge and you've
Mhm.
had some experience, and it's just certifying that you are up to their standards. You are up to that certification threshold.
Right.
So they are two very different things and they are two very different paths. But I am, like I said, I'm very biased towards my towards the master's degree.
Mhm.
So this is absolutely your sign if you've been debating on getting your master's degree or going back to school for your master's degree, do it. Just make sure you do your research. Life changes, the job market may change, your family and your circumstances may change, but as you're growing and developing in your career, education is just something, and certifications are just something that you've earned. There's a sense of pride and ownership in your growth, and it's something that nobody can take that away from you. You earned it. That is yours. That is your power. So
Right.
bet on yourself and definitely take a leap of faith and just go for it.
Mhm.
Everybody deserves to get to where they want to be in life. So just like I keep saying it, but do your research, make some mistakes along the way because that's okay. Those are just little pinballs that are getting you to where you need to be. So
Yeah.
don't put too much pressure on yourself. Take your time and think about things. But everybody deserves to reach their career goals and be successful.
Yeah, and with the master's program, especially if you're not quite sure what you want to do in HR, because there's so many different ways that you can go,
Yeah.
learning about all of those different topics and areas within HR as you go through the master's program might just help you make that decision as well. I mean, the certificates really sort of cement your experience in general overall within HR. But a master's degree will open up all those doors and really let you take a look at specifically the specialties within HR, and that might also then help you too. So,
Yeah.
so Aubrey, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your experiences and perspective on navigating the decision between pursuing a master's degree or pursuing the certificates. I think this conversation really highlights that there's no one size fits all answer. There's many different ways that you can go about it. The right path really just depends on your goals and your timing, your finances, and where you want your career to go in the future. So for anyone who may feel overwhelmed trying to figure out their next step, hopefully today's conversation reminded you that career growth, it's a journey. It is not a race. So whether you pursue certificates, graduate school, neither right now, every step you take helps build your experience and confidence. Thank you for spending time with us today on SharpHR Real Talk, Careers After College. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who may be trying to figure out their own career path in HR. And remember, everyone, let's be kind out there. It starts with you and me. Thanks again, Aubrey.
Thank you.
Have a great day.